Hi boys and girls. So today we start talking about solving equations, and the type of equations that we are going to be solving are called one-step equations. They're called one step because you only have to do one step to solve the problem. It's not a multi-step equation. So, equations. Let's talk about those first. Our goal when we solve an equation is to figure out what x must equal. I'm going to show you an example in a second, but that's our goal. We're always trying to figure out what is x, or what is the variable. And we are going to use inverse operations to solve equations. Now, inverse operations, that's like addition and subtraction are inverses of each other because they're opposites of each other. And then multiplying and dividing are inverse operations because they're the opposite of each other. So what does an equation look like? It looks like these down here. X plus 12 equals 18, and then here's another example. X minus 5 equals 4. So when I say solve an equation, I mean in this problem, x plus 12 equals 18, we're trying to figure out what does this variable have to equal, what number, so that x plus 12 will equal 18. What number plus 12 gives me the answer 18? That's what we're trying to figure out. And over here, we're trying to figure out what number minus 5 will equal 4. So before we start solving, I just want to go over a couple definitions first. Number one, equation. An equation is a statement that two mathematical expressions are equal. And of course, super important, every single equation has an equal sign in it. Please make sure you're writing down these definitions in your notebook as we go. Feel free to pause the video whenever you need so that you have time to catch up. And then our next definition is solution. A solution is the value of the variable that makes the equation true. So your solution is whatever x equals. Another way to say that is the value of the variable that keeps the equation balanced. Remember, an equation is like a balance, so we need both sides to be equal to one another. And of course, we are going to use inverse operations for that. So addition and subtraction are inverses of one another, and multiplying and dividing are inverses of one another. So let's go back to my examples on the first page. So I have x plus 12 equals 18. Now, some of you might already know what number you have to add with 12 to get 18, and that's okay. That's actually great, but it's super important that we practice showing all of our work because I'm not always going to give you easy numbers that you know off the top of your head. The numbers will get bigger. You'll see fractions, you'll see decimals. So it's really important that we practice writing out our work now so that when you get to the harder problem, you already know what to do. So to figure out what number we add with 12 to get to 18, I need to do the inverse of what's happening with x. Right now, x is being added to 12. The inverse of add 12 would be minus 12. Because 12 minus 12, that would cancel out, and that would just be 0. But if I do minus 12 on this side, I also have to do minus 12 on the other side of the equation. I like to sometimes draw a line down the equal sign to show me where the two sides of the equation are. You don't have to do that. But if you like to draw the line right down the equal sign so you see there's the left side of the equation and the right side, you can do that. So 18 minus 12 is 6. I bring down my equal sign. And since these canceled out, the only thing left over here is an x. So x equals 6. That's my answer. And I know that's true because when I go back and check my work, if I plug 6 in here for x, 6 plus 12, that does equal 18. So we did it correctly. Problem number 2 over here, I have x minus 5 equals 4. Remember, I have to solve this by doing the inverse operation. So if this is a minus 5, I have to do plus 5 on both sides of the equation. these will cancel out. Minus 5 and plus 5 are opposites. They cancel out. So all I have over here is my variable. I bring down my equal sign, and 4 plus 5 equals 9. So I just figured out my solution, x equals 9. I know that's correct because if I plug it back in, and I say instead of x minus 5, if I say 9 minus 5, does that equal 4? Yes, it does. I did it correctly. Let's try another 2 together. So over here I have 8x equals 32. Now remember, 8x, that's multiplication. So what do we have to do? We have to divide. We're going to divide by 8 because that's the opposite of multiplying by 8. So over here I'm going to do 32 divided by 8, and I know that equals 4. Then I bring down my equal sign. 8 divided by 8 cancels out, so all I'm left with is an x. X equals 4. That's my answer. I know that's correct because if I go back and plug it in, is 8 times 4 equal to 32? Yes, it is. Over here, I have x divided by 7 equals 6. What number divided by 7 will give me 6? Well, let's do an inverse operation. This is division, so what do we have to do? We have to multiply. The opposite of dividing by 7 is multiplying by 7. So we're going to get that x equals times 7 and divide by 7. Those two things cancel out. So over here we do 6 times 7 and that equals 42. X equals 42. Whoop. I know that's correct because I can plug 42 back in for x, and I can ask myself, is 42 divided by 7 equal to 6? Yes, it is. So this is how we do inverse operations to solve those equations to figure out what x equals. Okay, let's do, you guys are going to do by yourself a couple problems, and then we will be done. So let me zoom out actually. See if we can get them all on the same page. Okay, so there's 4 equations that I want you to try solving here. Remember to use your inverse operations and then go back and check your work afterwards to make sure you got it correct. When you're done, you can click play to check your answers. Okay, now that you have done these 4 problems by yourself, let's go over them. X minus 8 equals 13. Well, this is a minus 8, so I would do plus 8 on both sides. Minus 8 and plus 8 are going to cancel out. So I'm going to get that my answer, x equals, don't forget to bring down that equal sign, super important. X equals 21. And then I can go back and check my work by plugging 21 in for x and making sure just 21 minus 8 equals 13. Yes, it does. So I did it correctly. Over here I have 6x equals 48. Now remember, 6x, that means 6 times x. So I have to do the inverse and divide by x. Divide by 6, I'm sorry. So 48 divided by 6. 48 divided by 6 equals 8. And I know I'm correct because if I go back and check my work, I plug in 8. 6 times 8 equals 48. I'm correct. Down on the bottom, x plus 13 equals 22. Well, the inverse of plus 13 would be minus 13. So I'm going to do minus 13 here. Oh, my pen is a little funky. These cancel out. X. Whoop. And now we do 22 minus 13. And we are going to get the answer 9. X equals 9. I can check my work by plugging 9 back in right up here for x. 9 plus 13 does equal 22. And then lastly, I have x divided by 3 equals 5. Well, the opposite of divided by 3 is times 3. 5 times 3, that's 15. So x equals 15. I know that's correct because if I plug 15 in up here, does 15 divided by 3 equal 5? Yes, it does. That's it. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.